So you would rank
Seven,
rank Pratt number one?
Yeah, I mean overall, yeah.
Overall.
I mean he's not the best though. I mean Chris Pine is like by far and away the best actor. By far and away, like it's not even like it'll be like one, then like it's like Chris Pine number one, then five Chris's, and then like Chris Pratt in terms of acting. You know what I mean?
You would give Chris Pratt over Hemsworth and Evans?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I don't see where. Maybe not Hemsworth.
Hemsworth is a better actor than Pratt.
I can't think of anything Hemsworth's been in. Like,
did you not see Ghostbusters? No, I'm playing. What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Meaning of Podcast. I am Ace.
This is RB3.
And this is the podcast where we talk about your favorite directors and the deeper meaning within their films. And this episode is going to be a little bit different because we're doing another TV show. We've done it before, RB3. We did it for Atlanta. And we actually mentioned, I believe, in that episode that we wanted to do one for Westworld.
Yeah.
Here it is. We're doing Westworld, a TV show that you are intimately close to.
Intimately, as in just finished 5 minutes before getting on this microphone. So just saw the finale. People.
But you're a self-proclaimed expert on Westworld.
Am I a self-proclaimed expert? I asked this dude.
I swear, man.
Before the camera started rolling, I asked this dude like 11 questions. I couldn't figure out shit for shit.
To be fair, it's questions that you have to see like the HBO inside the episode kind of thing. And they kind of spill it out for you. Surprisingly, that they actually reveal the information.
I think it's almost like another Life of Pi situation. Like, are you telling me this whole thing was imaginary again? You know, like, oh, geez, I don't want to deal with that.
But this is all taken inside Anthony Hopkins' mind. This is all inside Ford's mind, dude.
Yeah, that's where
you actually get inside Ford's mind in this one, too.
Yeah, no, I thought those parts were cool, When they go widescreen, that was nice. That was good filmmaking right there.
Yeah, we're going to get into Westworld. We're going to get into a little bit of the philosophy of Westworld, a little bit of media that it relates to. We'll get into that conversation. And the author of the original Westworld,
Michael Crichton,
who made the best movie ever, Jurassic Park, RB3.
I don't know about all that.
But we'll talk about what he means to, I personally believe, media in general today. Michael Crichton. But before we do all that, we're going to get into questions from last week. Comments from last week. On last week's episode, which was on Ang Lee.
Yes. The famed Taiwanese-American director.
Funny you say that he's a famous director. And one of the first comments we have is Luis Martinez saying, never heard of Ang.
Never heard. All right. Hey, it's totally fair. That's totally fair.
You think that's fair? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a household name. Of course, but I don't think we expect it.
Yeah. I guess you're right. I think he's a pretty well-known director, but Basis 1996 says, "Dude, Ace is on point with that Hulk game. Movie wasn't good, but that game was badass."
The whole game. All right.
I rest my case, man.
Hey, salute to the Hulk game for being the redeeming factor.
That Hulk game was my childhood, man. I could be the Hulk. And he wasn't Mark Ruffalo. Yeah. But you love Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, right?
I think he's good. I think I still would have preferred Edward Norton.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Edward Norton's a better actor than Mark
Ruffalo. You don't think that Bruce Banner is like the super smart genius that he's supposed
actually,
to be?
You know what? I think Mark Ruffalo is. I think I like Edward Norton better as an actor, but I think I like Mark Ruffalo as the part more. Because I think he does both really better. Yeah. I think Edward Norton did the crazy side of Bruce Banner really well, but he didn't really do the sciencey side. I feel like Mark Ruffalo is the only one who like did them both really well. Okay. And I don't know. I mean, Eric Bana didn't do anything.
Do you feel the sciencey side for Mark Ruffalo?
I do. I mean, mainly because we saw those scenes in the Avengers where he was like cooking up stuff and I mean, we don't see any of those scenes in Infinity War, of course, but this is not really a great. I also love in Age of Ultron though when they finally cook up Vision and they're like both like Tony Stark and Hulk are like riffing off each other in the lab and Vision comes out and they have that like whole like mini Civil War like right there. I fucked that part.
Hey man, that means you like Age of Ultron.
Yeah, I don't really like Age of Ultron either. But Infinity War doesn't do the Hulk enough justice, but I think it's all part of the story. So hoping for part two. Yeah,
because I was gonna say last week You said you were done with Twitter hot takes.
Yeah.
And you dropped a massive
that
bomb
wasn't
a couple days ago.
I don't think that was such a hot take. I don't
You
think that was
dropped
such
a
hot
bomb, RB3, and I was like, yeah, that's my boy. He's back.
Yeah.
He's back with the controversy.
Yeah, it was controversial. I didn't think it'd be as controversial as it was, man.
Hey,
I
man.
thought people agreed.
Every morning, a rooster crows, and every morning you can expect a hot take from RB3.
I didn't know.
A controversial tweet.
I didn't know it was a hot take. I just said I thought the only good Avengers
You
movie
called
is
the
first
Russo
one.
brothers stupid.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. Wait a minute. I was like, man, if the Russo brothers see this, so I added the Civil War part. 'Cause my tweet was the only good Avengers movie is the first one. And then I followed up by saying Civil War is actually a good Avengers movie too. See, hopefully, if the Russo brothers saw that, hopefully they saw the second part. You know what I mean? Because I agree, Civil War is a great movie.
Not if they see our review of Avengers Infinity War.
Hey, I didn't hate the movie like all that much. You know what I mean?
Did you? Yeah, you kind of trashed it, man.
I didn't trash it. Well, I think watching it, I rewatched a couple of movies over the past week: Infinity War and Blade Runner 2049 a little bit. Left equally dissatisfied in both experiences.
Come on! I was gonna say you turned it around, man.
Oh no! I turned
Now you
anything
love Avengers Infinity War.
around. No.
You think it's the best MCU movie ever?
You know what? I really went back and really thought about it, and damn, nothing really happened in that movie. Like besides like the snap, you know, like.
Are you kidding me? A ton happened in that movie.
Yeah, but no character development. You see anybody change from point A to point B in the story?
Thor,
Maybe.
Thor.
Yeah, he has a hero's journey story. I don't know if he
See?
changed necessarily.
Yeah, he did.
It might have been regressive because, you know, I thought part of the whole lesson from Thor Ragnarok was that you could save the society through the people, not the place. And then, like, he, you know what I mean? Like, I thought his
So
whole
he's
thing
gonna
was,
let
like,
everyone die?
not revenge. I don't know, man. Like, he seemed really hurt by, like, all of the fucking, well, I guess somebody killing your brother and all that stuff will hurt you, but still,
You don't
like,
think that hurts you, man?
no, it does, but I mean, like,
Did you not see the scene with Rocket where he's basically saying like everyone he's close to is dead?
I thought the whole point of Thor Ragnarok was you could beat Thor without the hammer. And then this movie turns right back around and gets another fucking hammer. You know what I mean? Or axe. You know, like,
Yeah.
I thought, so that's my point. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I guess, but I feel like Thanos brought in a different wrinkle.
no, I get it. I mean, I just wish there would have been another movie between Thor Ragnarok and Infinity War.
Yeah, because
maybe
it picks up Thor Ragnarok. You know how much I love that movie,
Yeah.
and I was so mad those first 10 minutes. I was like, "What was the point?"
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Infinity War, I was like, "You're killing all my favorites. You're killing my Thor Ragnarok."
Yeah.
Because they all did. Well, half of the Asgardians are dead.
We'll get into Blade Runner later when we start talking about Westworld.
Oh yeah. WLI or Willie says, "Hey guys, so glad that you did an episode for Ang Lee. Being Taiwanese myself, it's great to hear your opinions
Woo!
on a director from the other side of the world. Ang Lee's films are so different and diverse, and in Taiwan, he is definitely one of the biggest and most respected names as he helps put the country in the spotlight that not many people are familiar with. Also, just want to say I love the show and listen every single week, especially at work since I work early in the morning cooking. Please don't be discouraged by low views and little comments. This is actually my first time commenting as well, but you guys have diehard fans out there." Man, that's such a nice comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how else to follow that. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Actually, you know what? I don't really mind that we have low numbers. I love when we get comments like that though. That say like they're diehard fans. You know what I mean? They watch every week. You know what I mean? I'd rather have 200 people or 300 people who like watch, comment, and not comment like necessarily because only like 4 of y'all comment, but like watch every week. I'd rather have that than like have a big fan base where nobody cares. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a Logan Paul fan base.
Man.
You see that fight?
I did not. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna pay for some shit? Nah, man.
I know I'm joking, man. Of course not.
Then that shit made then like 800,000 people pay for it.
Yep.
$10.
800,000 people.
That's
paid
$8 million.
$10.
Easy $8 million. Are you kidding me?
800,000, man.
Can you imagine the ads too? On top of that,
Ooh.
the ticket sales like inside the year is probably another million. You know?
You don't have to tell me twice, man.
Damn.
I mean, Chloe Bennett broke my heart. She broke it. It's supposed to be us. Just kidding. Terry, remember Terry or Tari?
You're going too hard on him last week.
I didn't. I was joking. But he also comes back with a comeback saying, guys. No, I'm kidding. I read it in his voice. Guys, seriously. No. Guys, Mamoru Hosoda was just inducted into the Academy.
Wow.
His newest film premiered at Cannes Film Festival. All of his films are critically acclaimed. 2 of his best films, Summer Wars and Girl Who Leaped Through Time, are super sci-fi. His new film is coming out at the end of the year. Anyways, great podcast. He's going right after you.
He's going after you.
He's going after you. You said you don't know who he is.
Thing.
You said you don't know who he is.
Hey, I don't know. I didn't know who he was. I thought
he's like, how can you not know this? A critically acclaimed Cannes Film Festival director. Or
hey,
Cannes.
You said he made like romance anime.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I did not say that. You can go back and watch. I said I don't watch romance anime.
Okay. Well, that's why you point out the sci-fi thing, right? You point out the sci-fi thing.
I guess. I don't know.
Hey,
man, he's going after both of us.
He's going after both of us. Terry.
He's calling us both dumb.
Yeah, he's like, Terry's basically like, yo, Ace, RB3, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
that's exactly what he said. Watch next week's comment. He just says that.
Yeah, fuck you. Hey, Terry, you totally deserve to comment fuck you for us.
Grandmaster Jedi Green Ranger says, that's a great name. I think it's great. He's not just the Grandmaster Jedi, but he's also the Green Ranger. That's like really powerful.
Isn't that like Elizabeth Banks, like Legion of Rangers, or I don't know.
Nah,
I don't watch the Power Rangers.
Did you see the new Power Rangers?
I saw it. Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't mind it.
Ooh.
Except when they had the Kanye West music in there. Like,
no, I wasn't. That was Kanye. No,
they had it on one part.
It's like it's the song that freaking Copster and Cody always talked about. Like I can make your hands clap, clap, clap. Yeah. That song. Oh.
Go Power Rangers.
That movie was not good. Either way, that's a powerful homie if he's a Grandmaster and a Power Ranger.
Yeah.
He says, Ace or RB3, have you ever seen Yu Yu Hakusho?
Oh, man.
Have you, RB3?
I have not.
Fake anime fan. Fake anime fan.
I don't even claim anime fandom. It's too intense for me to just be a casual observer, you know?
Yeah.
I'm an anime casual observer at the moment, but I like to become a fan. I want to become a fan.
I have not seen it as well. I know about it, and I know it's before my time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's one of the older, like early '90s anime that I did not. I was watching Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, okay.
And Gundam.
Oh, Gundam.
Last one, it'll be Alan Partridge, who says the Hulk has not.
Many comments. I'm surprised we got this many comments.
I know. Yeah, we got a little bit more than usual.
Let's go.
Yeah, we usually get 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Low views and no comments.
Hey,
like our good friend just said.
Hey, thank you guys, though. We don't need comments to feel validated.
Alan Partridge says, the Hulk has not aged well. As an Australian, it pains me to this day watching Eric Bana trying to do an American accent. That took me out of the movie immediately. Yeah, I don't know if I noticed it as much as probably he did, but...
Right. I'm not good with keeping up with accents anyway. Except when they're, like, obviously bad. Like, Idris Elba.
I'm thinking about the guys. Have you seen videos from Pretty Much It?
Oh, yeah.
When they did the freaking, what's that show called? 13 Reasons
13
Why.
Reasons Why. Yeah.
And Hannah, the girl who plays Hannah is Australian, but she's playing an American.
Yeah.
And there's one scene where it slips out. I forget what she says, but they repeat it throughout. And they re-say all her lines with an Australian. I don't really know. I'm just writing all these letters and, everything's crazy. And they start doing that every time Hannah comes on screen. It's so good, man. Shout out to Pretty Much It. I love those guys.
Yeah, it's messed up, man. I watched 13 Reasons Why, like,
oh my God, that show. That's another one.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, the first season was kind of good. The second season opened up a lot of doors to things that I thought would have been interesting television. No, it's controversial or whatever.
I did not see the second season.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm good.
Good. Only reason
I felt like, man, this is kind of messed up. By episode 5, when she's going after the big Asian homie, I was like, you're going after him because he didn't respond to your love letter? Like, it's like, that's kind of a messed up reason to say you're the reason why I died. Like, yo.
Well, they elaborate further on that in the second season.
Okay, I was gonna say that to me was like, really? I get the freaking final guy. I mean, of course, that guy should die.
Yeah.
But you're blaming all these people. It's like, you looked at me bad. you're the reason why I died. I was like, what? Wait,
Yeah, that was a little crazy.
that's kind of messed up.
That was a
If you're
little crazy.
writing letters saying that you're the reason why I died for someone who's just like dissed you one day.
No, I came back to the second season only because I don't know if you remember in the 13th episode of the first season, like it was just a normal fucking episode, and then like the Tyler guy, or is his name Tyler, the fucking weird guy, the skinny dude, I don't know, whatever.
Is it the
his name
photographer, homie?
The photographer,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
So then like they go into his room and then he's like, and his mom comes in, and is like, hey Tyler, is everything okay? It's like, yeah, everything's perfectly fine. And then she like leaves, and like the camera pans down, and like the music does like, and then it's like this gigantic pile of guns. I'm like, oh fuck, yo, what the fuck? Like,
Is that season 2?
That was the very end of season 1. I was like, yo, what? Like, so I was sitting on the edge.
That's right.
I was sitting on the edge of my seat for the rest of the fucking year, getting ready to watch season 2. Like, oh shit, where's this gonna go? Where's this gonna go? Where's this gonna go? You know? And
They got you, RB3.
They got me.
They hooked you in right there.
They hooked me in, hook, line, and sinker. And then I thought like, oh fuck, okay, they gotta set up the storyline. And like I literally sat through the unbearable trash that was season 2, because season 2 was god awful. Like,
I mean, season 1 was rough too, though.
season
1
one
had good moments.
Good moments, yeah.
That's kind of it.
Yeah, season 2 had nothing, bro. It was all bad. And I was sitting through this trash, just waiting for see what this dude was gonna blast off with, you know, like. And then they kept hitting at it. There was one episode that started with the whole like content warning, like warning, this is triggering. I'm like, all right. The time is coming, baby. And then they just kind of like skip over it. They don't skip over it, but like it wasn't even that. And then finally, the last episode, they're like, all right, there's a school prom. He's upset. He just got like, you know,
Is
whatever.
this some Degrassi shit?
Bullied. Yeah, he just got super bullied. And like the very last episode is like prom or whatever. And then like he shows up to the school. He rolls up, big AK-47. Like, all right, what is this dude's like? What's gonna happen? Like, I'm waiting all 13 episodes for this fucking bullshit, right? They go outside. Yo, the main dude, Clay, walks out. And he's like, Tyler, don't do it. Tyler, you're so much better. And then, like, the police start, like, coming, and then they just run away. And, like, nothing happened.
Wait, how does it end?
It just ended. Like, or you know what? No. One of the, you remember the gay homie who was, like, really, like, who drove the fast car?
Yeah.
Literally, that guy, like, pulls up out of nowhere, and he's like, Tyler, get in. And, like, while Tyler's, like, holding his gun or whatever, and, like, then, like, drives him away. Like, it was, like, nothing. It was so anticlimactic, dude. Like, I don't know, like, I don't want to see anybody get shot, like, you know, but like,
But you kind of wanted to see some people get shot.
Yeah, I'd never, like, there's not a lot of movies that like explore that, you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, this is gonna be different. Like, let's see how their approach is gonna be, especially for a fucking teen show like this. You know?
I mean, Degrassi, man. I mean, I know that's like way old for you, but that's my generation was Degrassi.
Yeah.
I make people laugh at work when I would mention Degrassi storylines that we're going through. It's like, how do you know Degrassi so well? And I'm like, I kind of watched a lot of Degrassi, but that's the famous freaking Jimmy, wheelchair Jimmy.
Wheelchair Jimmy.
Shout out to wheelchair Jimmy.
Hey, shout out to Aubrey Drake.
Hey.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I mean, they did that in like season 4 or something. Like, it wasn't like, yeah, it was like no big deal.
Dude, it's like, what the
That's
fuck?
ahead of its time if you think about it.
Degrassi, man.
Yeah.
Good shit. It was that the Next Generation, or was that the original Degrassi?
I think that's Next Generation. I think the one that Drake's in is Next Generation.
Yeah.
I forget.
I have no idea.
But I watched a lot of seasons. That's all I'm gonna say.
Dude, hey, you got Degrassi. I had Zoe 101. That was my shit back as a kid.
Yeah, that's not what I watched.
Man, Zoe 101 was lit. Are you kidding me?
Nah,
Zoe
man.
101, man.
Speaking of lit, Westworld.
Wow.
RB3 just finished it.
Just finished Westworld season 2.
I have questions lined up for you, Mr. RB3.
I have questions
They're
for you.
intricate little details that you have to retell me so I can verify your Westworld expertise claim.
Zero expertise in Westworld, people.
But either way, guys, Westworld is a fun show because it is one of the deepest, most philosophical, most forefront on its philosophy, I believe, versus other shows are a little more subtle. This one is very much in your face of like, look, this is philosophy that we're trying to tackle. We're trying to tackle very enormous questions on society, on humanity, on life, on creation, on death. Like, these are like very, very large questions. And I personally love giant questions. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love Prometheus so much, is because Prometheus is all about these enormous questions of creation, life, humanity, death. Like, what does it all mean, basically? And what happens when another being takes claim on your creation, right? When you're face to face with your creator, and that's a big deal. So this is the reason why we're doing an episode on Westworld. And my first question to you, RB3,
Wow.
is: have you ever begun to question the nature of your reality?
That's a good question, actually. I've actually thought about that a lot because I remember watching, as a very young man, watching The Truman Show. And of course, everybody thinks that when you first watch The Truman Show, like, oh, wait, what my life's so, like, everybody thinks that for at least like 2 minutes,
Sure.
But it did get me wondering, like, what would the possibility of a simulated life have to look like? And ultimately, like, it would kind of be impossible for that to actually exist, because I feel like humans are too complicated and too and deal with too many personal things and let personal experiences dictate our livelihood to ever let some sort of simulation like truly happen, particularly just the chain of events. You know what I mean? Like, they're so much bigger than just like one person in the world. So I don't think there's like a simulated kind of reality kind of deal, but
Some Black Mirror shit. Do you watch Black Mirror?
I do.
Okay.
And it's funny. I'm in this intro to TV course at USC. The very first day we watched the season 3 opener of Black Mirror, the one with not Jessica Chastain.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
I just remembered the episode of Jurassic World when you could not get her name. I swear, I even said it to you. I'm like, Bryce Dallas Howard, Jessica Chastain. No. Bryce Dallas Howard, Jessica Chastain. And I'm like, what? I actually like, say it back, RB3.
Hey,
and you're like, just no. Jessica, no. Jessica Chastain?
Hey, man, that's just me, man. I don't know. Yeah, but,
They don't even look alike at all.
Hey, man, you have your opinion, I have mine.
I know we're talking about Westworld.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that episode?
That was a good episode.
Okay.
I mean, I've always liked it since I've watched it. I've watched, Black Mirror.
Sure.
You're actually the first person to recommend Black Mirror.
I know I'm gonna blow my horn or whatever.
Yeah.
But I am one of the people who like OG Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Like straight up when it was on BBC and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was preaching about Black Mirror to all my
were.
friends at work.
Yeah.
I was like, you have to see this show. And funny enough, I got it from another friend. So to be fair, it wasn't like me. It was another friend of mine who recommended it season 1.
Wow.
And they were like, oh, you have to see the show. And that's what got me into it. And then I became the self-proclaimed Black Mirror like flag bearer, just waving that flag and telling everyone I can to please watch this show. I even some friends back home in Phoenix, like I would go visit, and they were like, oh, what are you watching? Watch Black Mirror. It's so messed up.
Yeah.
It'll hurt your soul. And that's kind of what you want in a Black Mirror episode now. It's like it's expected that it's going to cause you to feel really shitty.
Right. It's funny. We have studied. I've been in film school for 3 years, 4 years technically. This is my 4th year. Third year at USC. 3 different Black Mirror episodes I've watched in 3 different film classes.
Which ones can I say?
No bullshit. The first one was the San Junipero or San Luis
San Junipero.
San Junipero. That was for my TV criticism class.
Sure.
The other one that we watched was, I think it was the one with Daniel Kaluuya. That episode, I think we watched it in my race class and gender
15
class.
Million Merits.
Yeah, that one exactly. And then this one, Nosedive, with Bryce Dallas Howard.
I have, dude, I'm telling you, like I was gonna make like a Black Mirror like YouTube channel. Like that's how obsessed I was. But I have like rankings and stuff, and
Right.
I had my homies over, and we had like a Black Mirror roundtable discussion.
Yeah.
And he posted it up on his YouTube channel. And all we talked about was just season 3, and we went through the episodes because we're all just massive fans.
Right.
But I have my rankings, and I think rankings are very specific, and I'm like top notch with my rankings. But that's my favorite one.
Oh, it's
The
15
Daniel
mil?
Kaluuya,
Yeah.
15 million
I think you
merits.
mentioned that too. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
you mentioned that
As soon
before,
as I saw that, I was like, yo,
Yeah.
this is some like next level shit.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's kind of how I got into Westworld. Westworld was from another friend of mine who was like, oh, you're going to watch this new show, Westworld, coming from HBO. And we're on that Game of Thrones, thirst.
Right.
We need a Game of Thrones.
Well, everybody, this was intended to be the
That's
next Game of
exactly right.
Thrones, Yeah.
This was supposed to replace Game of Thrones
Yeah.
as their big, massive, huge tentpole show that can garner millions and millions of viewers and lots of money. And it costs lots of money because you'll see that production budget with season 2, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that finale was not cheap.
Yeah, no, that was a whole movie right there, bro.
I remember too, because I think I might be wrong, but I don't know if it's for season 2 or for season 1. Back when, shout out to Josh McCouga, TV Talk was on Collider, and I remember he mentioned a casting list. I think it was Sinead reading it was like, new show Westworld coming to HBO has as a casting list, and the casting list, and Josh McCouga was reading it, and he's like, must be very, very, very okay with nudity, with full sex. Like, it was some crazy shit, and I was like, what is this show?
Right.
But sure enough, they do that a lot. They're very okay with that.
Yeah.
On this show. But that's kind of how I got into it. I want to hear, what's your first time? What's your encounter? Like, what got you to watch the show?
Oh, I just heard about it. I mean, like, when it came out, it was pretty big. They put a lot of money behind, like, marketing it. And, you know, I always kind of regretted missing the Game of Thrones boat. So I did want to catch, like, one of, like, the premiere series, like, as it was going on.
Sure.
So I made it a point to, like, all right, this new show, Westworld's coming out. I have to, like, start it from the beginning and, like, keep up, you know? So I made that very clear point, like, from when it premiered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it, and I always thought it was a good show. I mean, I particularly the first season, I thought it took me a little while to get into it. Like, I really had a hard time getting through the first episode, mainly because it was, like, it was the Western, and then it went immediately to, like, the future thing.
To be fair, yeah, the first episode was never what got me into it.
Yeah,
I think it was the second episode.
It was the second and third one. Yeah. Those were the ones that I was like, all right, I'm getting the story, because it introduces a lot of parts, right? And introduces a lot of pieces and interactions that become way more important later down the line. But, like, just watching it, like, just up front, it doesn't really, you know, it didn't really compete with me, at least. But I ended up enjoying the show because of a lot of things that it had to say. I'd say some pretty big messages, some good sci-fi messages that, for the most part, have been picked apart. Like I kind of mentioned, you know, like, a lot of sci-fi ideas are largely unoriginal and inherently, just because we've told a lot of stories before already.
Similar stories.
Yeah. But I think Westworld was good in differentiating, like, a new kind of approach to it, right? Like, the new idea of the God complex being, being instituted through technology, but in the sense of, what if, to what freedoms are we gonna do? Does the Robert Ford character, the God character, allow the host to live, even to the point where they kill him too, physically? Like, that was a very interesting idea to me. So I vibed with season 1, and it took me forever to watch season 2.
Yeah, I remember. Because that's when we did the Atlanta episode.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I'm a little behind on season 2. And by little means you haven't even started.
Yeah. And it was already over by that point, right? Like, it was pretty much
No, it wasn't. I think it was in the middle of it. I think episode 8 or 9
okay.
was airing. Yeah. But either way, I remember, so where I work, I hanged out with 2 homies. So we had a big office all to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And there was, like, a ton of people in there. But they all moved on to different jobs at the same time. So for a while, we had this giant office to ourselves. And it's me, my homie Tob, and my homie Rob. And we're those guys. We're the hyper nerds. We watch movies for fun. You've met Rob.
Right.
Like, we watch indie movies all the time. And Tom is also, like, a giant nerd. He's a writer. And every time we would have show discussions and show theories. And one of our show discussions, I said this on the episode of Atlanta, was Atlanta. We would watch Atlanta during lunch, and then afterwards we would have, like, Atlanta after show with just us 3 talking about what our favorite moment was or what was the funniest. So we had that too with Westworld. And Rob was actually the one who got me into it. And legitimately, bro, I kid you not, episode 2, He says, all right, guys, I got to say something because I just got to get it. The freaking show just started. Like, episode 2. Like, it just aired the night before. And he's like, I got to get this out, guys. But I think William is the Man in Black. And I'm like, and I'm like, that's a pretty good theory. So the whole season I'm watching it and I know the twist. Right. Because my friend said, this, I think he is the Man in Black. And I'm like, maybe. And then after a while, I'm like, okay, he's right.
Yeah.
This sucks. I wanted to be shocked and surprised, but sure enough, I'm like waiting for it.
I low key, I caught on to that one pretty early too.
Yeah?
Yeah, I caught on to that one pretty early. I didn't like read it anywhere. I just kind of thought like.
No, he didn't. I swear, like he was not reading it anywhere. He just literally was like, I think William is the Man in Black. And I'm like, oh, where'd you get that from? And he's like, I think this and that. And he was connecting the dots. But for me, I was like, when you're so right on a theory that you kind of spoil the show. And Connor, I was going to talk about that too. The fun of the show is theorizing. That's some of the fun of the show. And there's shows that do that. Game of Thrones is another show that kind of relies on theorizing, where if you don't know the source material, right? Because book readers can be like, well, the books.
Right.
But if you just watch the show, you can kind of see where is this going, and you can make up theories because it's magic. I don't obviously you don't know that much about Game of Thrones, but there's magic involved and stuff. So, you know, successions of
but now the
bloodlines.
The books don't exist anymore, right? Like,
that's right. They've been off the books for a while.
Oh, okay.
For a while, yeah. But they still make callbacks to the books, and introduce it to the new season. Like something that happens in the books, like in season 1, is going to come back in season 7. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like little references, they make callbacks to it. But Attack on Titan is another example of a show that it kind of relies, if you're not on the source material, because the manga is way ahead. And if you don't read the manga, part of it is theorizing what's going to happen. Where do the Titans come from? What's going on? You know, what is Eren's dad planning? All that stuff is part of what makes this show fun, right? I don't know about you, but that's fun to me. I love theorizing on what's William? Is he a host? Who's not a host? What's going on? Is that his daughter? Is that not his daughter? Like those kind of questions make the show. That's part of the community aspect of the show. And personally, I love that aspect. And that's why I would go to a lot of YouTube videos and watch like Westworld after shows, where they just broke it down with like really nerdy dudes and girls would just go over and over it. So for me, I think I don't know about you, but I think that makes it really fun. Yeah,
that was the fun for me in season 1. I remember I used to watch all the after shows on What the Flick, you know, that channel. They did after shows for all of the Westworld episodes, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the Matt Atchity one?
Matt Atchity, okay. Alfonso Durade, and
Mine was shout out to mine was GameSpot Universe.
GameSpot Universe.
Yeah, they're British homies. They're clutch.
Yeah.
Clutch.
New Rockstars also is one that
New Rockstars is great.
They didn't do like after, I don't think, every episode, but like at the end of each season, they're like timeline explained, post credit scene explained, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't even watch the new ones for season 2 because I just finished it like 5 minutes ago. But I would be happy to get fuller understanding because I literally, bro, like that's kind of one of my things of, it's not a complaint towards Westworld, it's just my own personal like not being able to keep up. Is like I have a really hard time keeping up with what's this timeline, that timeline, when does this take place? Like to me, like I really don't like to think about those things as I'm watching a show. I just kind of want to be in the experience. And
coming from the fan of Dunkirk, though.
Yeah, but like even Dunkirk. See, that's interesting you bring that up because Dunkirk, I think, is a movie. If you don't understand the time thing, is not really going to affect the experience. You know what I mean? Like if you just follow these, they're all individual stories to a certain extent, right? Like they're all individual. So if you just track each individual storyline just as it's presented, it's a totally amazing story in and of itself. You know, if you take the time out of it. With Westworld, it's almost a little too difficult for me because like you have to know where things take place, or if you don't know, you're just asking questions that are ultimately you're feeling unfulfilled with for a lot of the show.
That's all season 1, though.
That's a lot of season 1, but for me, like it was very clear to me that there was a delineation between the Man in Black and William. You know, like I always thought it was funny that those two were never in the same kind of space together. So I already assumed there's 2 timelines there. So I was a little clearly more able to follow which storyline, which timeline A and timeline B, where that's kind of taking place. So I was able to like mentally keep up, but even that's like an exercise, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's like a chore in and of itself. And I don't know if I really want to do chores when I'm watching TV.
That's all Westworld, man.
That's all Westworld.
That's literally what Westworld is, especially season 2.
Yeah. Now season 2 is where I was like, all right, I can't keep up with the timeline shit. Like, I just can't. So.
That's an interesting. I love it. I love being challenged when I'm watching something.
Yeah, no, I love being challenged too.
I love like mentally bringing up stuff that maybe I don't get it right away. I think it's fine as far as the storytellers are trying to tell you something from the start, but you won't catch up because they're giving you little nuggets of information, because it's all about information. Obviously, I want to always go back to Attack on Titan, but I'm really containing myself right now, RB3, because that's literally the whole purpose of Attack on Titan, is giving you little information every episode. And it can be the most frustrating thing ever, but that's kind of where I get my passion for it so much, is because it's almost meta with the theme of it, like the giving information and giving you knowledge is so much part of the show, but it's also a part of the audience. And watching this show, it comments on society, of how society is always based on giving you information and knowledge of what's actually going on, self-awareness, right? That's why there's conspiracy theorists of the government, right? Because everything is not, what are you truly aware of as far as what the government is doing? And that's why so many conspiracy theories exist, because they feel like they're not self-aware of what's going on, and they want to be, so they kind of cling to crazy out there theories. And that's the same thing that happens in Attack on Titan, where the government is telling you one thing, but what if you question that and you're not self-aware? And that's like the whole theme of Westworld, because self-awareness is consciousness. And that's what they're trying to debate, as far as, are these hosts conscious? Are they beings? Obviously, they're not people, but they're beings. Right. And those are the type of questions that we've seen in other media and other film and TV, specifically from Blade Runner.
The Blade Runner 2049. Okay, so it is. So this is where. So I was on HBO this weekend, right, watching Westworld as in preparation for the show. See, Blade Runner 2049. I already knew Blade Runner 2049 was on HBO. I watched it before on HBO, or I tried to watch it again. But this time I took note, because I was like, all right, I'm gonna clear the air. I'm gonna forget all like pretenses, pre-notions going into this movie. I'm just gonna forget like I ever saw it. I'm gonna try and experience it again as like a whole new thing, right? Because I do, even though like as much as I criticize it, I do think there are some good parts of it. I think there are some moments that I genuinely think are brilliant pieces of filmmaking. I think there are some ideas that they present. I don't know if they follow up on them necessarily, but some ideas that they present of, do you need eyes to have vision, right? Like that was one more striking things that happened with me when I was watching it in theaters, was the whole Jared Leto. I mean, has those little cameras following him around. Like, what's the definition of vision? If you're born with vision, does that mean you still perceive the world in the same way as through lenses, right? Or through like not seeing at all? Like, what's your, that was one of the more interesting things. So I thought, okay, maybe they have more of that. I just didn't catch it. So anyway, okay, I'm watching the movie. Turn it on, right? Boom. Text starts. I already check out. Because I remember watching the text in the theater and immediately getting worried, like, because it's all about, robot revolution is building up. I'm like, all right, like, don't get carried away. Like, just make Blade Runner first, all right? So that was all right. That was like warning sign number one. But I was like, all right, forget it. I'm just gonna keep it chugging through, right? So then Ryan Gosling gets to the little farm that Dave Bautista is like farming his little Magus on or whatever, right? I remember watching the scene in theaters too, and I didn't hold this against the movie because I saw it in 3D. So that scene is very darkly photographed. So it very much hurt my eyes in theaters. I never held that against the movie. I never thought of that scene as like a good scene because my eyes were just straining through the entire thing watching the theaters. But I never criticized the movie for that. Watching that again, watching that at home on HBO was delightful. The lighting was great. The cinematography was great in that moment with Roger Deakins, lighting the set. Very, very new. One of my main criticisms was that I don't think they leaned into the noir element enough. I thought that scene was very noir-esque. So that was dope. All right, that scene is dope. All right, he goes into the car. The little drone is looking under the tree and sees like the grave digged up. All right, that's a dope scene too. He goes back to LA, to the LAPD. He's flying in through the city. Great scene. Boom. We have like 3 scenes that are like great so far. He sits down and he does like the little interview thing with the little computer thing. Boom. That's an amazing scene. I always love that scene. I've always loved that scene. Boom. Amazing scene. Boom. That's like 5. And he talks to Robin Wright. Boom. 5 like great scenes back to back to back. I'm really heating up. All right, this is a great movie so far. All right, maybe I was wrong. You know, maybe I'll accept this L. You know, then he goes back to his apartment, and we meet the computer girlfriend. Oh boy,
what's her name?
Joy.
Joy.
That's where the movie takes a big hit for me, man. That's where the movie is that to me is the defining turning point of where I think this movie went so right and went so left all of a sudden, you know? It fed in this whole other storyline that I think, and again, like trying to rewatch it again, and granted, I shouldn't even built up this big rewatch thing because I only really got 30 minutes deep into it because the computer girlfriend scene just killed me too much. But like, I really do think that if you cut all of the computer girlfriend scenes out, it's the exact same movie. It's the exact same movie. I really do think that. Besides when the bad lady like steps on his remote and, you know, like he's like hurt by that. Like beyond that, it's the exact same movie. It has no relevance to the plot whatsoever. There's a whole sub theme that is kind of related to the main theme, but not really. What's the point? And plus, we had her already, so her is like already a great movie. I don't know why we need to remake her with Blade Runner. It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, the computer girlfriend scenes, I'm over it. We meet the Mackenzie Davis character, right? The girl who's like wants to lead this rebellion. I'm already like not feeling that anyway, so I'm not really. Yeah, so overall, Ace, I'm still equally disappointed in Blade Runner.
Come on.
I'm still equally disappointed.
All these wrong opinions that are coming into my ears.
And you know what? And you know, and watching the opening scene with the Dave Bautista farm scene again, like what I think I really resonated with me is, even though like it strained my eyes a little bit in theaters, it was my first time recognizing in the theaters and also my first time recognizing like when I watched it again on home video, is that Denis Villeneuve was not really trying to make a Blade Runner movie to begin with anyway, right? Like the whole idea of Blade Runner and the whole idea of really Scott's vision of Blade Runner is like everything is crowded, everything is cramped, everything is like compact space on a visual standpoint. Like you can't have a centimeter in the original movie that doesn't have some sort of line or crinkle or edge or something. You know what I mean? Because it's all packed and filled. That opening scene is very open space, very wide open. I think that's what the movie is, a very wide open movie, very empty movie. And just feels so different from the original that I just can't really vibe with it. But
dang, man. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Her name is Love, by the way.
Love? That's the girl. That's the girlfriend's name. But
no. Joy is the girlfriend's name, like you just said. Love is the bad girl, Jared Leto's assistant.
Yeah. She was dope.
She was super dope.
I think if you cut out the computer girlfriend thing and then made Love like a computer simulation of some sort, I think you could have gotten the exact same message across, equally as effective, if not more effective, to me. And then have Jared Leto's character face the loss instead of Ryan Gosling's, because Ryan Gosling is already dealing with his own personal storyline of discovering if he's human or not. Like, I don't know why why does he have to have 2 existential journeys? Like, what the fuck
because
is this?
Because it's 2 times better than the first one.
Fuck out of here, man.
No, but for real, let's go back to the first one.
Yeah.
What? Because I feel like this movie influenced a lot, and a lot of people give credit to this movie as far as
the first Westworld movie or first Blade Runner.
The first Blade Runner,
yes,
giving credit to this movie for basically creating the cyberpunk genre.
Cyberpunk, absolutely, yeah. And we talked about it a little bit on a James Cameron episode.
Yeah, and it's based on the book from what's his name?
The short story from Philip K.
Dick.
Yeah.
Is it okay? It's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep,
yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it pretty much opens the door. I feel like this door has probably been tackled before in sci-fi in some way, whether it be a novel or whether it be some sort of TV show that we may have missed.
Right.
Oh well. But for me, Blade Runner is the one that kind of kicked things off, because Blade Runner is before Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
What do you think about the influence of Blade Runner on something like Westworld?
I think that's the biggest. That's at least where I think it draws some of the biggest inspiration from, outside of the original source material that it's based on. But I think the whole idea of what does creation mean? If you're a creation of something, can you have a soul? Can you have a body? You know, you have a body obviously, but are you something within? You know, I think that's where Ghost in the Shell comes into the play too, right? The whole idea of Ghost in the Shell is, is there a soul inside of a body that's created? And I think that's where Westworld really comes into play. But I think Westworld kind of subverts what Blade Runner's idea is, right? Because Blade Runner is, I think the end result of Blade Runner is saying, okay, you can still be a creation, or you can also still be human. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. But I think what Westworld says kind of flips that and saying you could be both human and an android or a robot or whatever, and you could still be part of some program. You're still part of this overall arcing code kind of deal. And I think that was the biggest revelation for me in watching season 1, and moreover in watching season 2, because I think season 2 really doubled down on the idea of, if computers go by, or robots go by, this thing of programming, right? They're programmed to do things, but somebody had to do programming. The programming was Ford, right? And he is their programming, their God figure per se. Like, and with humans don't, whether you believe in any sort of religion or whatever, you're still to some extent designed to react to certain ways to things based on the experiences that you were put through. So you're kind of almost programmed to a certain extent as well by life, by reality, by the world. Some would say, religious folks would say, by God, right? Like, you have been programmed by the events that God has put in front of your life to react to the things that you do, to feel the way that you feel. So I think that's where Blade Runner is like, both could be, both humans and robots could represent free thought. I think Westworld takes a more postmodern approach to it, a more 2018 approach to it, is to where, and a more sadistic view, to say the least, is that both robots and humans are both programmed and engineered anyway. So yeah, I think that's where I find the biggest resemblance for me. But what about you though, Ace? Blade Runner?
Yeah, I mean, but Blade Runner has a massive influence, as well as Ghost in the Shell. Obviously, I've been a very massive fan of the anime, but the movie is great because it introduces all these giant concepts. But I'm telling you, man, that TV series, that show, the anime series, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, is, I think someone was asking what was the greatest anime, or what is the greatest anime of all time. I would put it up there, because what it does is it takes that idea, that concept of what we're talking about right now, in a world of like androids and going inside and switching bodies and stuff that what's that show on, the one that I was talking about last week, Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon, yeah.
They talk about that a lot too, a little bit in Westworld too, about immortality and what happens. And they just take it times 10. They talk about it, what it means in the corporate level, what it means on a ethics level, what it means, and it's just incredible. I highly recommend watching it. It's only 2 seasons, but it's one of the greatest animes, again, of all time.
You think if the movie would have adapted that instead of the original movie, you think it would have been better?
What do you mean?
Like, if the live action Scarlett Johansson movie adapted the TV show instead of the...
That's the thing about about that movie. It does both.
Oh, okay.
And that's why it doesn't really work.
Oh, okay.
Because they were like, which one should we do? And they were just like, let's put them both in there. So there's literally things from the anime that I was like, that's from the anime. And I'm like, that's from the movie. That's from the... They literally were just putting scenes from the anime and the movie.
Because I've never seen the Scarlett Johansson movie, but I've seen those videos of like the side-by-sides of like the anime versus the live action. It's like shot for shot.
Yep.
For some scenes.
That's the whole movie.
Yeah.
To be honest, I even talked about it on my Instagram when it first came out of the movie. The movie isn't necessarily even a movie. The movie is just a tribute to the Ghost in the Shell genre in general. It's a tribute to the manga, it's a tribute to the series, and it's a tribute to the movie that came out, the first movie that came out. It's all just scenes. It's all just, and that's kind of why it didn't work, because it's all like, remember this, remember that, remember this, remember that, remember this, remember that. Like, did you watch the anime? Yeah. If you watch the movie, yeah. Like, it's all, and like you said, it's just panel for panel, similar stuff that we've seen before, and it's all just one giant, like, Ghost in the Shell's cool. Look how it looks in live action. That's essentially what the movie is. Yeah. But either way, I feel like that's one of the deepest, most philosophical shows of all time is Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. But for me, I'm interested too because Altered Carbon is another one, obviously, that tackles this. But the thing about Westworld and what you were saying about reality and what you were saying about what season 2 is kind of doubling down on is the question of, does free will even exist as far as humans go? Not even androids, not even hosts, but humans. Doesn't RG3?
Yeah, I mean,
or are we humans just programmed mathematically, scientifically, not even on a religious scale, on a scientific Big Bang evolutionary basis to follow customs and to follow drives that are essentially made to keep us alive, survival, and to avoid suffering, which is a big question of, are you conscious or not? And you're basically a host. There is no such thing as free will. You're basically a mathematical equation that follows the same paths over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a really fucked up reality if we lived in that one. I mean, I don't think, I mean, clearly the show's position is that there's no free will. Free will doesn't exist. That's the show's position. I think free will is totally a human thing that we have. I just don't think we like practice it enough, you know?
You know what's funny, man? Full disclosure, we're shooting on a Monday. Last night I was in church.
Yeah.
This is the stuff we were talking about in church.
Oh, really?
I'm not joking. This is why I like my church, man. And that's why I love my pastor. Because
Scientology or?
Yeah, it's the Church of Scientology. That's right. Tom Cruise was there. He was slamming down that Scientology Bible, which is just Battlestar. What is that movie called?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea. Imagine if Tom Cruise is just listening at home, like having a perfectly good podcast. Like, man, these guys are really smart. And then we just throw the Scientology book.
Yeah, you love Mission Impossible Fallout.
I love Fallout, man. Hey. Fallout's the best action movie of the year.
But no, it's not. But no, it's a Christian church there.
Okay.
But my pastor was talking about these things, and I was like, how ironic that this is what he's talking about. Because he was talking about religion itself and just the idea of evolution, Big Bang, scientific questions that people associate with. This is why I love my church. Again, I'll say it again. Because this is the stuff it's taboo to talk about in church. I don't know, you've been in church. This is the stuff you don't talk about. Yeah. But he was talking about how people relate so much with intelligence and being smart and being dumb, and how Christianity has that stigma of like Christian people are dumb because they believe in this stuff. And he was like, what if we spin it on its head? And what if we do agree with scientific terms and we do agree with stuff that happened scientifically, but we relate it all to God and that God created something? And if we don't believe in this, then you probably also don't believe in what God entails, which is creativity and free will. So if we truly believe there is a God, then we must also truly believe there is free will. If we choose not to believe in God, then that free will, this Westworld pessimistic point of view, is the one that we would take. And that's kind of the choice we have to make, is do we want to live a life of pessimism that we want to say, nah, it's not real? Or do we want to be a little bit more optimistic and say, it's real because God made it? So these are questions of religion, which plays a huge hand in Westworld in general. I mean, all the stuff that's religious in this movie, in this show, is very in your face as far as creation. And I think that comes all credit to Michael Crichton, because these are the questions that Michael Crichton was bringing up in his book and in the best Steven Spielberg movie of all time, Jurassic Park. And that's one of the things I said on the Collider video when we were ranking those movies. Everyone blames Perry. They're like, Perry rigged it. And I was like, I rigged it. I went in the voting system. No, I didn't do that. But because
cut me out of that one.
Because this is the reason why. I said it on the video that this is what Michael Crichton was trying to get to, and this is what Steven Spielberg scratched the surface of. Obviously, he didn't dive deeper inside of it, but the idea of playing God and being God to nature, like what does that entail, and what happens when a guy attempts to play the position of God when it comes to nature, and does nature respond in specific ways? And that's the famous life finds a way line that says in the movie, and that's why Jurassic Park's so good, because it does both. It's an action movie and it has philosophical questions, Great acting.
You're right. You're right. No, it's good. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It also has a part where they're scooping through dinosaur shit. So I mean,
hey, man, that's a part of life.
Hey,
that's life.
Of life.
Yeah.
Yo, did you see the track list they put out for the new live action Lion King movie?
No.
Oh, dude.
Is it good?
There's like 3 just like Beyonce songs in there, bro. Yeah.
Is she doing the whole thing?
Yeah, she's
Childish Gambino and Beyonce.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine Ludwig, our boy Ludwig.
Oh, is he doing it?
I don't know. But imagine if he did though.
If he did, all right, I'm there.
Because he did the Black Panther, the African shit for that one. It was nice. But no, I have no idea. But speaking of, but yeah, I mean that's what whole Lion King is, the creatures, right? The creatures are being brought to life. I don't know how I was trying to do a good transition from.
I was gonna say what?
Okay, Jurassic Park is the bringing of creatures to life.
But don't you find that's a similar thing?
Same, yeah, that's what I was
with
gonna say.
Westworld.
Yeah.
The fact that it's kind of the same story in a way that it's a park. Same thing as Westworld,
right?
A park,
right?
Michael Crichton has a thing for parks,
right.
But
well, it's consumerism, right?
Consumerism, right?
How we're gonna sell, how we sell out our creationist beliefs.
And all credit to Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. Shout out to Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, who adapt that movie and story and make it something more with a TV show, doubling down on philosophy that is being brought up in the show itself.
Right. And the original movie came out in 1973. It was directed by Michael Crichton, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And they had that sequel called Future World.
Future World
also come out after. Do you think we're gonna see the Future World kind of? I mean, I don't.
That's exactly. You finished season 2. That's where they're going.
Yeah,
essentially, right? It has to be.
Yeah.
Is the concept of Future World?
Yeah.
And I think it kind of does spoil season 3. Is the movie? If you watch the movie, you're like, this is kind of what's gonna happen.
Oh, really?
I think so.
You watched the movie?
The GameSpot universe guys that I followed and girls were saying they think that's where it's going.
Right.
The Future World movie.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
I wonder if the original, because I didn't see the original Michael Crichton movie, but what if the original movie? Do you know if the original movie has Shogun World and?
I don't know, but that's a part of like the actual story.
Really?
I know there's like as far as a book or something. I feel like that was a part of it.
If you ask
specifically Shogun World.
Yeah, if you still ask me, it still should have been called Eastworld. Westworld, Eastworld.
But what do you do with Safari Land? Safari World?
What time?
Season 2. You saw season 2.
But they were in India.
Yeah, India World.
India World.
I don't know what do you call that?
Was that Eastworld?
I called it Safari World, and a lot of people had different names for it. But there's like an official name. I forget what it is.
No idea.
But I was like Safari World.
They should have called the Native American land, like Chief Land, like Chief World. Westworld, Eastworld, Chief
That's
World.
Racist, RB3.
Is that racist?
You like Redskins too?
Hey, wait a minute. I ain't saying that. I also do not support the NFL. I do not watch any NFL
are you
games.
not watching any NFL games this season?
No, I am not.
Really?
I mean, I'm on the official boycott this season, everybody.
I'm like so deep into Hard Knocks right now. It's not even funny.
Hey,
I love
Cleveland
it.
Browns, man. Cleveland
Browns.
I still watch
Baker
Hard Knocks.
Mayfield.
I watch Hard Knocks. I watch everything. I might even play Madden. Goddamn, maybe. I don't know. That's a little. I don't know because they fucked up the song. But I will not be watching NFL until they stop trying to censor. The protest of Colin Kaepernick.
That's not gonna happen, man.
I want to see as soon as Colin Kaepernick gets rehired by the NFL, I'll go back and watch a game.
That's not happening. Anyways, that's part of the theme in the show. Is what Michael Crichton is introducing as far as playing God. But there's also different themes of the show. Some of the ones I have written down here, we talked about consciousness and what happens when you realize that artificial intelligence is actually conscious. One of the rules of consciousness is suffering, and whether you have the ability to not just realize that you're in pain and feel pain, but realize what pain does to you. And that's another theme that is being brought up in the show, right? Because the whole thing is like, it's okay to torture these people because they're not people. It's okay to torture these things because they're just things.
They don't have memories.
There's no consequences.
Yeah.
And consequences is what basically William is trying to figure out, the man in black. We talked about reality a little bit at the beginning, but I want to talk a little bit about the reality in the sense of what we're living in now, especially LA, man. I'm telling you, LA. I don't know, maybe because I'm a realist. I'm not a pessimist, but it's gonna sound like I'm a pessimist in about 5 minutes because I came to LA, man, and I'm telling you, this stuff, and you've lived here your whole life.
Yeah,
this stuff is a different level, man. It's all about not who you are, but what the image that you portray. That's LA. That's the entire city.
Everybody's a cornball.
Is people pretending to be someone they're not, and pretending to be, whether it's pretending to be important, pretending to be caring for other people,
pretending to be rich,
pretending to be rich, pretending to hate on things that they don't actually hate on, like Trump sucks, and it's like I'm just saying that because everyone else is saying it. Like it's all just Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, looking a certain way and portraying it, and then talking to other people who are higher than you on a spectrum in order to appear more important than other people, and putting down people who are below you because they're below you and you don't want to be associated with people that are below you. That's real. I'm telling you, man, I've been to LA parties. This is some shady ass shit, bro. And you really feel like, wait a minute, why isn't that person just ignored me and went over there? Oh, it's because I'm just a PA. And that person is like the manager of this person. It's like you have to be associated with people who are higher up than you because that's the perceived notion that you want to get to, especially in actors. But I feel like even in like directors and writers and stuff like that, it's all about a fake reality. Just all fake. I'm legit serious about it. No, I don't know if you agree with me, but for me, I'm like, this is crazy.
You know, it's crazy, man. You really, I don't know if do you watch that show, BoJack Horseman?
No.
You got to watch BoJack Horseman because I think you would really love that show. Because that show is all about the fakeness of people, and I think that show is probably the most accurate like LA like show, like no bullshit, because it's all about people who are like just stunning. You know what I mean? Like just trying to act like they are friends with you when you're hot, but if you're like not cool or anything, like you just don't even get talked to. Like, you don't even get looked at. You know, like I think that's the biggest part of I think that's the biggest part of LA, and I think that's a big part of the whole idea of our societal norms, right? How we kind of want to fit into the mold that everybody around us is set because you see other people being successful doing it. You know, you want to do it yourself that way too. And I think that's what Westworld is to a certain extent, right? That's why they have all those scenes of the questioning, right? The fidelity testing, yeah. How every one of those is a kind of indicator. Okay, this person's a host. This person's a host. This person's being trained, and I thought it was pretty mind blowing in season 2 when we realized that Bernard was actually being trained and created by Dolores this entire time. That was very fascinating to me because that tells me that, you know, because when we see those scenes before with William doing it to his father-in-law, the father-in-law was unsuccessful because it was a human, or at least I think is a human at that point, right? William testing a host per se, but you know, trying to bring somebody back to life, and it not working. But then when Dolores is doing the questioning to Bernard, you know, for the most part, for 20 years, has been perfectly fine throughout this entire process. So it's just fascinating to me that like the robot does the better programming to the human replicating host than the human does to the human replicating host. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like this show also brings up questions about our future. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I've felt this way for a long time, especially because I'm on Twitter a little bit, not as much as you, but I'm stepping up. But for me, I really take into account, and I might be reading too much into it, but I don't feel like I am, into account the personas that people put on Twitter, and whether that be people with 10 followers or people with 10,000 followers or more, is the idea of even an image to represent yourself. Like, what is your Twitter profile picture? What is your, and how many people on Twitter, RB3, as someone who's been on Twitter, don't put their face on their profile picture. Yeah. I find that so interesting. They put like an anime character or this person that they like, and I always find that to be not off-putting or anything like that, but I find that to be a very strong decision. I feel like you don't just say, I don't want to not put my face on this platform where I just talk trash about people, and you choose like a character that you really love, whether it's a Star Wars character, an anime character, and then the other people who put like glamorous images of themselves, and then whatever they say as far as what they're tweeting out and the brand that they're going for, because it's all a brand as what you're trying to portray yourself to be. I personally feel like the future is going to dive a little bit even more into that, because it's all about avatar. It's all about who you claim to be. This is who I am. The person I am is cool. He likes this. He likes that. He claims this. And he doesn't make stupid mistakes. Whereas in reality, you're making a ton of mistakes and you make a lot of stupid decisions. And some of the stuff you like, you don't really like. I don't know. That to me is like on the forefront of LA. That's all LA. It's like Twitter in real life.
Right.
So I don't know if you feel that way about in a different form of reality. Not necessarily living in a world where we're being tested and seeing if we're host or human, but in a world where what's the difference? We're not going to be able to tell the difference as far as what's real and what's not, based on a note of human society talking to other people, but only talking about certain conversations that are predetermined based on what they feel you will like.
And and I think that is one of the biggest indications of where we are as a society today, because I feel like we're just so caught up in that headspace right now. We've all kind of adapted to our own kind of like little niches of what we're going to consume anyway. Like if we're looking politically, like it just comes down to the channels that people watch, right? If you're a Republican, you're going to watch Fox. If you're a Democrat, if you're a corporate Democrat, you're probably going to watch like CNN or NBC or whatever. If you're someone more like me, or someone who is a little more far in the other direction, you're going to go for more independent outlets, right? Like YouTube, for example, right? Like I personally follow very extreme left channels, but then a lot of people follow the strange, like Alex Jones of the of the right. But then again, now that we're caught up in in our own little bubbles, now people are calling for Alex Jones to be censored because people are calling for Alex Jones to be censored because a lot of things he says are fake. But at the same time, are you okay with censoring somebody who's at the fringe? Like, what if they come for the channels I watch? What if they come for the leftist channels, the people who believe in Medicare for all, the people who believe in taxing the rich or whatever? And then, if you watch Fox News, they're gonna look at those channels and be like, you guys are doing nothing but pointing conspiracy theories out anyway. So it's the same shit. Like,
but to be fair, that's not why Alex Jones got banned and censored. It was because of what he was saying about the school shootings being actors,
right?
And how people
actually
would go to these houses of these kids and scream in their faces and in their parents' faces, and go insane because Alex Jones kind of told him to do that.
No, I mean, hey, he's an asshole. Do you think that's justifiable in like taking down his whole channel though? Don't you think just taking down those videos would be just enough?
Here's what because I've seen this debate a lot on different news outlets, as far as on internet news outlets, because I also do YouTube Raw. I personally feel like if you really go through YouTube, there's way worse channels than Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Way worse.
Yeah.
So I personally feel like it's because his platform is so big, but it's not necessarily his content that is so outrageous that people are so hung up on, basically. Because I feel like there's other channels that say some even crazier shit, and it's really hardcore, and I feel like that should be banned when you're telling people to go kill people and stuff like that. Because of what they believe. Versus Alex Jones, I feel like it's a little bit more tricky, right? Because the argument for banning him is saying that this is an organization. They can ban you if he wants. He can still go on his website and post all his stuff because that's free.
But then don't you I definitely don't want to see any of these social media tycoons be responsible for the kind of news that I take in. You know what I mean? Like, I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg to be the guy who decides what's fake news or not. You think I trust that motherfucker? I love the social network. You think I trust that dude to make good decisions? No, I don't. So I don't think so. I don't want any to me if it's an open platform they should just remain as open as possible. Of course, ban the people who are making threats and ban the people who are doing bad things. For me, like, I just don't feel okay, because I feel like if we're going to start censoring him the same way, I mean, the James Gunn situation almost is a parallel situation in the other direction, right? Like, he was essentially censored as a political weapon too, to a certain extent. Now, do I agree with him being fired? That's another conversation I don't want to have, you know. But the point the point of the matter is it was them pointing at his past, same way some people point at Alex Jones' past. I just don't think banning is a good thing.
But do you feel like past? It's not really past. It's now. It's Alex Jones now.
Yeah,
it's not what he said. Is what he's saying.
The videos that he got sued for were in 2013. But like, I definitely, like, I don't want, like, if he says something that's legitimately fake or legitimately spreading some piece of propaganda that's incorrect, ban him. Or not ban him, but ban that video, you know? But if he is criticizing the president or the government or the public, it's the same way that leftist groups are going to criticize Trump if Alex Jones criticizes Obama in some sort of type of way too. So as long as it's not fake information, I don't want fake information to be spread, but I also don't think, because really, like, if you read, you know, Fahrenheit 451 is my favorite book of all time. And if you read that book, the whole idea of that book is that society got to a point where we just kept censoring each other so much that they just outright censored everything. Like, they're not going to let us get any information because we decided to impose self-censorship. And I think, like, when we're banning entire channels, that's definitely erring into a section of self-censorship that I get a little worried about.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. I just personally feel like I've seen some gnarly shit on YouTube that I feel like, man, YouTube should get on this.
Yeah, no, they should.
There's some stuff that's way worse than Alex Jones that people are up in arms about.
But then, you know, you gotta be worried about YouTube too, because they're gonna keep fucking shit up, like with the monetization and stuff like that too. So
yeah, that's the truth.
Oh, you just never know.
RB3's preaching.
Hey, that's just my opinion. But how did we get from Westworld to that? My bad for just straying off into nothing. Yeah.
Let's get into something that I feel like it's important in Westworld, and also important in other shows, and that is the idea of wealth.
Oh yeah,
that's 1%. The idea of the 1%ers. That's the idea of who gets to decide what society becomes. Because if we really think about it, the people who are able to go to these parks, the people that will be able to upload consciousness
and replicate themselves and
become immortal, which is what Altered Carbon is about. It's literally all about immortality and how only the 1%ers get to be immortal, which means that their dominion over society is all powerful, godlike, basically. They're playing God to the fullest extent, where they're immortal, and they firmly press their boot against lower income people. And the people who will eventually rule the world in an iron fist type of way is the 1%ers, the super filthy rich people who can do these.
Who can afford $40,000 a day for Westworld? $40,000 a day to pay to go to that park.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. But that's the big question, right? Is what happens to a society that worships rich people so much to the point that technology is going to give them such a massive advantage that the income gap is going to skyrocket. It's going to be a next level because of the benefits of technology, right? Because technology can help more people, but it can also just help one type of person too.
Yeah.
And if that kind of power is given to who can afford it, it's only going to be super filthy rich people who are ruling over society.
Right. I mean, it's the same world we're living in right now too, right? Like,
that's the exact same world we're living in.
People who are in the top 1% can afford the best medicine, the best technology to live as long as they, so please. But
and give their future generations, the same thing.
Right.
It's the idea of where you come from, right? Where it's like, my kids are going to be filthy rich, do this stuff, and be all this, and basically rule the world too when I'm dead. Right? That's their way of becoming immortal, I guess. That's their way of it. It's their children.
And even, I mean, I don't know if you heard. You remember that? I don't know if you heard that whole thing with Arnold Schwarzenegger. he said he wanted to like freeze himself when he died.
I heard that. Go for it.
Go for it. See, he's trying that. He's going for the immoral play too. But I definitely think if there was technology out there like portrayed in Westworld, there would definitely be the rich 1% motherfuckers who are really getting in and trying to make make themselves live to be 100 or 110 or 120 or live forever if they could, and program themselves into a android body or a robot body or whatever, So I definitely think that's big and relevant. And I think it's also relevant that these are 1%ers going into the park, going and interacting with people who are in Westworld, where I think Westworld in of itself is supposed to represent like poor people, like essentially, right? Not poor people, but in a time where not money wasn't as accessible in the 1800s, where like shit was just dirt cheap and like people were just kind of peasants, you know what I mean? In these like little cities. So it's just interesting to me. But then I also think it's a commentary on I think the show also has like a little tinge of commentary towards our treatment of Native Americans too, right? And how the rich and the, maybe not even just the rich, but the privileged back in those days ran the Native Americans off their land. And the same thing we see in the season 2 of Westworld, where there was episode 8 that we focused completely on the Native American character. I can't pronounce his name to save my life.
I don't even know his name. So
yeah, I don't know if it was the title of the episode, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, when they played the Nirvana song.
Oh yeah.
That was dope.
Nice. That was nice. But like in that story, in that whole episode is about how this dude had a perfectly peaceful village all to himself until the man, right, the Ford comes in, tears that whole society apart and turns, literally reprograms these the Native Americans to be savages and to be the antagonist of these cowboys, right? And how it has that commentary on that. But I think it has a sense of optimism where at least at the end where they have the whole thing with the promised land and people going over. It's funny that the first people to the new land are the Native Americans.
That's true.
Same way in what actually happened in history, not the way they want to portray Chris Columbus and all this stuff. But yeah, no.
That's true. That's good, man.
Yeah. And you see the window even closes after they get. So they're going to be there for a while. They're probably going to harvest that land, and then some more imperialists in future world is going to come in and hunt them.
Yeah. So that's the imperial way.
But that's the whole
America.
But that's the whole thing. I mean, even I don't want to keep drifting off into different concepts, but like even when they go into the whole like mental wipe thing, like that's kind of an idea of afterlife for the robots, consciousness too,
host
right?
heaven.
Host heaven. Yeah, it's a certain host heaven. I like that. I like that a lot. But it's just funny how we are so induced in this idea of religion, and I'm a religious person, but how we are so enthralled with religion that we actually program a heaven for the host to where their beings and their consciousness could live on forever and ever, supposedly.
Well, I mean, that's also San Junipero.
Yeah, that
right?
too. Yeah, that's
the idea of the perception of reality of what heaven is in itself. I've had conversations about that. I'm a weird dude, so I have conversations about people who don't necessarily believe in not just God, but just the supernatural in general. And I've talked about how people can't, dimensions is essentially what I've talked to my dad about it a lot, how dimensions can really open the door, literally, to different concepts that you might have been like, heaven's not real. What if there is a heaven and it's like a different dimension and shit is lit?
Oh, wow. Imagine that.
You see what I'm saying? Like the definitions of heaven, of hell. Great show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer gets into that too, where when she dies, she goes to a different realm, a realm that is meant for different beings. And these beings, and when I say beings, I mean like extraterrestrial beings, but like these beings have this home, and it's a paradise-like type of home. Yeah. Or a hell dimension being like living in Mustafar on like in Star Wars, and you're stuck with Darth Vader. Like, that's gotta suck. But I'm saying like dimensions open up different avenues, and that's also the thing in Westworld where it's like, is it real if I'm mentally consciously here and I perceive my body to be in here as well, or is it fake? And that's the whole Dolores thing, making a decision when she was trying to, blow him up anyways.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't real. Her definition of real was like, what is real though?
Yeah. As poor Teddy ended up being the bad side of that idea.
That's right.
Like she changed him, manipulated him.
That's right.
Made him overly aggressive and just totally ruined Teddy, man. Like,
yeah.
Teddy was my favorite.
R.I.P. Teddy.
Teddy was my favorite, man. He was just a nice, upright, humble guy. Then fucking Dolores had to go in and make him this asshole.
But even when she made him an asshole, he still stuck to his his guts.
That's what's up. That's what's up with Teddy, man.
That's some hardcore shit, man.
Also, R.I.P. to the writer, too. The writer guy who was like the head writer.
Oh, he went out dope though.
Yeah,
he went out really good.
He went out dope,
man.
He was my favorite character besides from Teddy.
I was gonna say my favorite character and someone who I am deeply in love with, RB3. And I can't lie if I'm being really honest, because deep down inside I think a lot of things. But every time I would see her, I'd be like, man, that's a beautiful girl right there. I love this woman right now.
Oh, man.
I just want to marry this girl. And she's not even into me. It was Elsie.
I knew it.
How'd you know?
We've done this podcast long enough so I could tell.
How'd you know?
I just know, man. I just know.
You didn't go for Thandie Newton. You didn't go for Dolores. You went after Elsie.
I know it's Elsie, man. I know Elsie. As soon as Elsie spoke, I was like, oh, this is Ace's. Oh man!
I swear, I love Elsie, man. I think she's great, and I was definitely into Elsie, even though she would not be into me. RB3.
Hey, she was a good looking lady. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Damn,
that's.
Everybody croaked in season. By the way, spoiler alert too if you haven't watched.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they would assume by this point. But my favorite character is probably Bernard. One thing I definitely want to say about the cast is a shout out to Ben Barnes, who's only usually in season 1 for the most part.
Oh right, he's the Luke, right?
That's Lucas? Right. Logan. So Ben Barnes, for anyone who doesn't watch Westworld and just watches The Punisher, have you seen The Punisher yet?
The Netflix one?
Mm-hmm.
No.
He plays Billy Russo in that show.
Oh, really?
And I said he's one of the best villains that Netflix has made yet. One of the best. I would rank him probably up there with Kilgrave. But one of my I said on Twitter that they were like, man, he's a real asshole in The Punisher, and I'm like, you haven't seen Westworld, man.
He's an asshole in Westworld. Yeah,
I was gonna say in The Punisher, he kills people, he chops people's heads off, he's super messed up, but he's still not as bad as Logan.
Yeah.
Logan is you're like, man, chill.
You could totally see how William became the Man in Black just from being with
for hanging out with Logan. I was like, this guy's a dick. Holy shit.
Which, by the way, I do want to pose a question to you. Because the Man in Black, when we first meet the Man in Black, when we first meet him, he's a abuser, a rapist, a murderer.
Of innocent children.
Innocent people. Multiple people. Yet we have to find some sort of redemption in his character. Is that, are we supposed to... what's the line that we're supposed to forgive this character especially if he's a character? Imagine if this was a real person. Are we supposed to empathize with that even more?
Those are the type of questions that I think HBO shows love to do, because that's all Game of Thrones. All Game of Thrones. I told you before we went on air that I've been rewatching all of Game of Thrones, and honestly, man, I just can't. Tywin Lannister is one of the most. He's done some despicable ass shit. Almost pure evil type shit in Game of Thrones, and yet I freaking love him, man. It's kind of that question, right? Of stuff when we see on whether it be TV shows or movies, characters that we're following along and they do messed up shit, and then you're supposed to also follow their positive stuff and the cool shit they do. That's the big question. Am I supposed to root for this character? I think they purposely do that so you kind of make a choice for yourself as far as, do I want to root for this character or not? That's what Game of Thrones always does. And Game of Thrones will show you a scene of a guy killing an innocent person, and then the next time they're helping your favorite character do something really nice. So you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, because it questions your concept of ethics within yourself with fictional characters, because it's a fictional story. So even then you're like, who cares? But at the same time, it's a bigger question for yourself, I guess, right? As far as like who you root for and who you don't root for in a fictional story. How about you, RB3?
Well, I think I'm more forgiving of general people just in general, like, you know, of real life people. But that being said, I don't know where I stand on the Man in Black necessarily, because I don't know if he ever really fully redeemed for the things that he's done in the context of the show.
Sure.
Especially, I think towards the end, he just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Okay. Here's my question to you. I feel like in society and in TV shows and stuff like that, we get the concept of worse, or it could be worse type of things that make us question, that make us more forgiving towards people who've shown negativity, right? That's what Game of Thrones does as well with characters like Joffrey and Ramsay Bolton, where they're basically like, that guy's kind of messed up, but he's not torturing little kids and chopping off their, like we start to forgive more people who do bad deeds and to do evil things to like pure evil characters, right? And that's what's happening now in society with politics and the Republican Party and the passing of John McCain. It's just crazy how he's passed away. He's dead now, and he's almost a Democratic candidate now. As how much love he's getting, right? I don't know about you, but on social media, I see like because the reason why, and it's like all these super left people saying this stuff, and when you think about it, it's like, well, it's because they're comparing him to what we currently have, and when you compare this, you're like, well, like even with George Bush, like the type of people who love George Bush now. And it's like, man, you guys were hating on him. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, Trump's 10 times worse than Bush. Trump is
He's not. Trump's not 10 times worse than Bush.
But this is what I'm saying. What's happening as far as what society is saying is okay and what society is saying is not okay. Because now that we have someone like Trump in the White House, all of a sudden, all the other Republicans get compared to him and all the other previous presidents get compared to him. And everyone says, well, Reagan was actually kind of cool. Bush was a homie, though. Like, they're saying stuff like that. Right. And that's what happens in a show like Westworld, a show like Game of Thrones, where you meet a character that does bad shit, and you're like, I don't like that guy. But then you meet someone way worse, and you're like, all right, I'm rooting for you. Because that guy's even worse, and I hate that guy.
I think that's what Logan is in this show with William, right? Like, you stand William next to Logan. And especially for me, like I said, I thought the whole thing with the Man in Black and William was pretty early on. So, like, seeing the asshole that Logan is and seeing William being this nice, well-hearted guy who means well, I can see how that can be kind of molded and shaped into what the Man in Black will become. I don't think there's any characters that are really worse than the Man in Black in the show, though. No,
you're right.
Yeah,
but maybe Logan.
Right. But besides Logan, but also I think that we also love the Man in Black because he's so badass. You know what I mean? Because he's just a violent, gruesome murderer.
Doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't give a shit.
Well, that's the exact same reason why I love Tywin Lannister. Tywin Lannister he's basically the villain of the show of Game of Thrones, and he does messed up stuff to really nice, innocent people, but at the same time, I personally forgive it because I'm like, yo, he's a badass though. He's dope. He doesn't give a shit. Like, he just goes ham, and I love him for that. And it's crazy how we relate badassery, for lack of a better term, to positivity, to coolness. That never leaves, whether you're on the right or whether you're on the left. You're just still kind of like, yo, that guy's cool. I'm rooting for that guy because he can do cool shit with a gun, or because he's cool with a knife, or because he murders people in a certain way. I don't know why it always relates to violence when it comes to American audiences, but it does.
These violent delights come to violent ends.
Look at the freaking hype for John Wick 3, man.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Right? Are you excited for John Wick 3?
I'm super excited for
I'm super excited for John Wick 3. And guess what we're excited to see? John Wick just shoot a bunch of people in the head and
kicking people,
kicking butt and murdering people. That's what we're excited for.
I'm super excited.
And I'm on board, man. I'm like, hell yeah, shoot a bunch of people. It's kind of ironic though that in a way that's villainy, right? But yet we don't relate to it because we put like a soft puppy story.
Imagine if the story of John Wick was told from the perspective of one of the henchmen,
right? The entire time. Where he just he's like trying to like help his family out of poverty. Right. He's got his mom living with him, and his mom is like really broke. And he just takes this job, and he's like, "Man, I don't want to hurt anyone, but I have to defend myself."
Yeah. And John Wick just blasts him.
And John Wick just blasts his head off.
That's the end of the movie, right there.
That's kind of the point, though, right? Is we're rooting for the type of people who hurt other people.
Yeah, I think that's the meta commentary that this show's all about too, because it's all about how people go into the escapism, right? Go into this amusement park for the sake of itching their violence and their sexual desires.
Scratching their itch.
Scratching their itch. What did I say? Itching their itch. Jesus Christ. Scratching their itch for violence and for sex and all. And, you know, I love that it represents that, especially when we go back about the wealth conversation about the 1%, right? How they accentuate that, not through video games, not through most normal shit that people do, but actually literally going to an amusement park and killing people as if they're in the Old West, you know?
Yeah. And it's an interesting point as far as not just how society views certain things too, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want to be so public about our desires that we may feel like someone else is going to think that's really weird, or someone else is going to think that's messed up. So I don't want to proclaim it. Versus me, where I see a girl like Elsie and I'm like, I got to proclaim that shit. I got to proclaim my love.
Now, what do you think of William's storyline in season 2 when it comes to his daughter and his wife that passed away?
Well, that's also the question of fatherly figures and motherly figures, right? I mean, we see it in the beginning of the intro with the mother holding the baby. Mm-hmm. As far as Thandie Newton's character too, is like Maeve, as far as what happens when you're caring for someone that you're supposed to care for, like a daughter. Mm-hmm. And we see the difference between Maeve's character and William's character, as far as, you know, he thinks he's a human and she knows she's a host. Who's more human in that scenario? Maeve, right? She's showing the most human qualities, whereas William is showing inhuman qualities.
And, you know, when you leave Maeve at the end of season 1, it almost seems like she has like this raw, like animalistic kind of thing to her. But I think what this season 2 did really well is give her the opportunities to show her more compassionate sides, right? Like when she has the whole storyline in Shogun World and she sees like kind of the mirror image of herself and her daughter, she grows a little bit more humanity, a little bit more of a heart. She develops a little more empathy for the writer guy. You know, I can never remember his name, but yeah, I mean, so I think she grows, and I think the show purposely shows Maeve growing more as a human, whereas William growing as a program, as a cog in a machine, even to the point where he's so convinced he's part of this simulation that he shoots his own daughter.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And that's what's going to happen in the continuing seasons. I guess all we can do now is see what season 3 is going to take us. But at the end, we see the teaser at the end. I don't know. The post-credit scene is William waking up in the distant future and realizing that he's not just stuck in a psychological mental loop, but in a physical loop, as far as physically being put through that over and over and over again. So I'm curious where it's going to go. But yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Rinko Kikuchi, the Japanese girl. She's also in Pacific Rim. She's also
in Babel. Is she in this show?
No, she plays the Japanese girl, the Maeve.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's the one who does the crazy chopping head off after. Nice. Remember that scene when they're dancing and then she chops the head off, like just scoops it all around like it's ice cream. Whoop! There goes the head. And shout out to Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang played. They play that song in a Japanese style. Yeah, and I was like, oh shit!
I love this show for using the modern music,
right? Because that's the thing. That's one of the things that took me out of Ready Player One, is like people wouldn't be making references to like some old ass shit. They'd be making references to like Wu-Tang, Radiohead, Nirvana. Like that's the type of shit like that's gonna be oldies in the future. Like why would we play like some crazy 50s song? Then by then no one's gonna listen to it. So I love that they do that, because in a way that's like, yo, that's a throwback.
Those are the timeless.
Throwback that Nirvana song. That's a throwback, and that's how it's gonna be in the future. That's how music works.
Right.
So I don't know. I dig this show. I love it quite a bit.
I dig it too.
I know you had issues with the finale.
Well, yeah, not issues. It just I definitely
questions that you didn't get answered.
Well, not just questions. I personally just like a little more fulfillment.
Sure.
And a lot of this did fulfill me. Like I did, like most of the questions I had were like very satisfying. I was very happy that I had the answers to most of these questions. I just wish that, like, I really hope that in season 3 they somehow explain that, like, I just didn't watch a whole fucking dream sequence. You know what I mean? Like, that'll be my only thing. You know?
Yeah. They release YouTube videos on their official page, like little shorts and videos that you missed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, it's also like it's not like a big problem, but kind of the question that I've always had about this show that never really fully got answered, especially in season 2, is the idea of them replicating so many aspects and ideas of human life in terms of like sex and violence. Like, but the show never really goes deep into the interpersonal stuff, like the conflicts inside of like one's daily life, like how would that be approached in Westworld. And that's the bigger question when they talk about, oh, we're collecting people's like metadata and we're like, you know, we're getting a better sense of humanity. But to me, my question has been, how can you get a full sense and full picture of reality for an environment that's so purely predicated on sex and violence? Like, there's more to that, but I just don't think the show necessarily shows that enough. Nor necessarily I think they should, because already a lot of story happening.
Sure.
But, that's just one of the little tickers that's always like it's always like scratching my. It's one of the itches that's always been scratching. You know.
I feel like season 3 is gonna get. That's one of my itching and itching.
Yeah.
I feel like season 3 is gonna be talking about the corporate world. And infiltration in the corporate world. Because that's what Ghost in the Shell does, and it's so freaking cool. Okay. So Ghost in the Shell introduces the concept of ghost hacking, right? The idea of, like, if I can hack inside a computer, and you're basically a computer now because you're all basically mechanical, and you're a robot, essentially. You have a robot body, but your consciousness is uploaded inside this robot body. What happens if hackers can now hack inside you? And take control of you, and it's called ghost hacking, and actually hack into you, since you're now fully, you know, a robot. You're fully android, so your body isn't you. And what happens is in the show is like in a world that's being introduced like that, you're saying, oh, it's gonna be like taking over some guy's body and shoot someone, but what actually happens is they just hack the highest 1%ers. People on the lower spectrum hack the 1%ers. The super filthy rich people that basically control the world and take over their corporate actions and take over big business investments, even invest in war or against war, or invest in banning refugees. Or these are like the shit that is brought up in Standalone Complex, Ghost in the Shell. And it's so freaking cool because you find out like that's so true. Like, if you can really go inside you, then I would just pick the highest dude. I'd pick the homies that are way high. So I feel like they're going to do that in the concept of Hale being on the board for that company, and it's not really Hale. You know, it's being whoever Dolores put in there, taking over that role of like, I'm Hale, I'm a corporate person.
It might be Dolores herself.
Could be Dolores herself, that's right. And it's one of those things of like, what position of power is she going to put herself in order to influence the world as we now see it.
Hey man, I'm here for it. Hopefully there's no better corporate cyberpunk show than Mr. Robot, so I don't know.
That's right, that's Mr. Robot. That's a good point.
Yeah. I'm hoping that maybe Sam Esmail joins Westworld season was it season 3 or whatever? I don't know.
Season 3.
Hoping for Mr. Robot to come back strong too, because that's one of my favorite shows.
Mr. Robot. All right, that is our episode on Westworld, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys got a kick out of it. Let us know who is your favorite character from Westworld in the comments down below. And are you as in love with Elsie as I am? I don't think you are. Yeah. I'm telling you, she distracted me so much in every episode.
Yeah. Oh, I also got to say, too, please support my film, Artists of Venice. This is the last week to vote. I don't know if they might have announced the winners by the time this is released, but whatever. I don't care. You still vote down below in the link. please vote. And then it's the very top link. And you never know, because we have been climbing the ranks in terms of votes. We've been doing really well in votes. We're one of the most popular documentaries at the moment. Maybe we can get to number 1 if you keep spamming that motherfucker. I know everybody on iTunes, iTunes, we get at least like 15,000 sometimes, maybe listeners. If every one of y'all voted, we'd be easily number 1. So please get to number 1.
There you go, guys. Go vote for RB3.
If all 300 YouTube viewers too watch this,
our low views and small comments, short comments. All right, guys. For the Meaning Enough podcast, we are peacing out. Peace out, guys.